Hey, Jerry, would you grab me coffee? Yeah, black. 1 sugar, please. No, bud, no cream. That's what makes it black. Yeah, thanks.
And light.
Looking good, Cheryl.
Camera. Action.
Good morning, America. The date, November 11th, 1918. In the 11th month of the 11th day, during the 11th hour, the war will end. The armistice was signed at 5 o'clock this morning, and hostilities are to cease on all fronts at 11 a.m. today. All nations have agreed to stop fighting while the terms of peace are being negotiated. It has now been 5 months of negotiating, and George Clemenceau, Woodrow Wilson, and David Lloyd George have finally come to terms with each other, and they have officially signed the Treaty of Versailles. The terms of which are the surrender of the German colonies as the League of Nations mandates, the return of Alsace, Lorraine to France, the secession of Eupen-Malmedy to Belgium, Memel to Lithuania, the Hutchinson district to Czechoslovakia. Everyone is outraged as the news of the Volstead Act spreads across the country. The constitutional ban on the production, importation, transportation, and sale of alcohol beverages has devastated this fun-loving American society. To only worsen the matters of the alcoholic ban, experts have said our economic future here is terrifying. These past few years, we have seen a remarkable collapse in the employment rates across the country. If we continue this economic downturn, we will be looking at 11.2% raise in unemployment. Oh, goodness. Congress has just passed the Immigration Act. This act will permit about 350,000 visas to be obtainable by the immigrants every year. Thanks, Mr. Harding, for wisely guiding our immigration laws and ensuring their safety. Well, this is a truly historic event. At 7:52 a.m., May 20th, 1927, Charles Lindbergh gunned the engine of the Spirit of St. Louis and aimed her down the dirt runway of Roosevelt Field in Long Island. Heavily laden with fuel, the plane traveled down the muddy field, gradually became airborne, and barely cleared the telephone wires at the field's edge. The crowd of 500 thought they had witnessed a miracle. 33 and 1/2 hours and 3,500 miles later, he landed in Paris, making him the first man to fly across the Atlantic alone. Republican Hubert Hoover has defeated Democrat Alfred E. Smith. Their contest to determine who would succeed Calvin Coolidge in the White House has ended. Hoover amassed 444 votes in the Electoral College to a mere 87 for Smith. Congratulations, Mr. President. I hope nothing bad happens during your term. Unfortunately for the newly elected Herbert Hoover, Black Thursday has occurred, the beginning of the collapse of the stock market. On October 18th, 1931, O. Al Capone was convicted and sentenced to 11 years in federal prison. They issued owing $50,000 in fines and $7,692 in court fees, as well as $215,000 in interest on all his taxes. So long, Al Capone. But wait, there's hope. The incumbent Republican president, Herbert Hoover, was defeated in a landslide by Democrat Franklin D. Roosevelt, the governor of New York. The nation is excited to see the economic development as a result of Roosevelt's presence in office. In a stroke of genius, President Franklin D. Roosevelt has ended the Prohibition. Citizens all across the nation are celebrating the termination of the Prohibition Act. The 18th Amendment has been repealed. President D. Roosevelt has issued a proclamation declaring the end of the Prohibition, while also admonishing the country to drink responsibly and not abuse this return of individual freedom. President Roosevelt does it again! The Social Security Act has officially passed. This act is purposed to provide for the general welfare by establishing a system of federal old age benefits and by enabling the several states to make more adequate provisions for aged persons, blind persons, dependent and crippled children, maternal and child welfare, public health, and the administration of their unemployment compensation laws, to establish a Social Security Board and to raise revenue for other purposes. The date is May 6th, 1937. The German Zeppelin has exploded, filling the sky above Lakehurst, New Jersey with smoke and fire. Some passengers and crew members were able to jump the dozens of feet to safety. However, tragically, only 52 survived of the 87 on board. Would you roll the footage, Jim?
Holding it just enough to keep it. It burst into flames. Wait, get it started. It's raging terrible. Oh my, get out of the way, please. It's bursting into flames, and it's falling on the morning baths, and all the folks between us. This is terrible. This is the worst of the worst catastrophes in the world. Oh, it's like 400 or 500 feet into the sky. It's a terrific crash, ladies and gentlemen.
The drought-stricken southern plains region of the United States has been suffering severe dust storms and drying during this period. The high winds and choking dust sweep across the region from Texas to Nebraska, earning the name the Dust Bowl. The Dust Bowl has caused people and livestock to be killed and crops across the entire region. The Dust Bowl has only intensified the impacts of the economic depression and has led farming families on a desperate migration in search of work and better living conditions. Germany invades Poland. The date is 1939. Europe is at war. 2 days ago, on September 1st at 4:45, the Germans invaded Poland and are now officially at war. German forces are advancing at a dizzying rate. It is certain that the Polish people will not be able to defeat the German troops. However, the battle still continues. America at war. Yesterday morning on December 7th, 1941, they were attacked by over 300 Imperial Japanese aircraft fighters, dive bombers, torpedo bombers, and 2 waves. All 8 U.S. Navy warships, battleships were damaged and 4 sunk. President Roosevelt has announced, we are in fact at war. And now, our Army intelligence has gathered footage from a meeting previous to the attack, and we will release to you now. Go ahead, Jerry, roll the footage.
Sorry. Okay, so plan. So here have Hawaii. Okay, that is American base. Okay, and bomb plane. Yes, bomb plane or bomb plane. Yes, I think bomb plane or bomb plane. And one more for the road. Oh my god. Oh yeah, more sideways. Okay, good.
That is revolting. I can't believe what I'm watching. This is disgusting. Truly disgusting. Got it. The date is January 26th, 1942. And the first U.S. troops have landed in Northern Ireland. Within 7 weeks of U.S. declaring war on Germany, the U.S. troops followed Churchill across the Atlantic into North Ireland. The Allied shipping routes around Ireland's north coast must be defended. May 12th, 1943, Churchill arrives in the United States. Mr. Churchill arrives in Washington on the White House lawn to confer with Mr. Roosevelt about his new offenses. Council of Wars are held, planning where the next blow will hit. The Axis powers know that when these two men get together, action follows. June 6th, 1944, D-Day. The Battle of Normandy has begun, as 156,000 Americans, British, and Canadian troops land on the beaches of Normandy. This invasion is one of the largest amphibious military assaults we've seen up until this point, and has required extensive planning leading up to this day. The Nazis have surrendered. Germany has signed an unconditional surrender at Allied headquarters in Reims, France, to take effect today, ending the conflict of World War II. The Allies' successful blockades and battles have led to Germany's deterioration and utter demise. We actually have some battlefield footage of the surrender. Terry, would you roll that footage? Are we allowed to? Yes, we are allowed to. We are indeed allowed to, so enjoy. Oh, it's a place we are surrounded. Raise the white flag.
Yeah,
Quick.
yeah,
It's a fake. Put
grenade in the mouth.
Grenade in the mouth? Yes,
Yeah.
it'll work. I promise you. Oh!
Failure.
Wenn der Führer says, wie ist der Master Ace? Wie heil, heil! Right in the Führer's face, not to laugh, the Führer is great, so wie heil, heil! Right in the Führer's face. Wenn Herr Goebbels says, wie ohne Wellen's face, wie heil!